from. You're going to be learning, if you go to school for physical therapy or occupational therapy, there's a lot of similarities, you'll see. But, and also the goal of both of these therapists is very similar, but the way they do things maybe, or how they get to the goal might be a little bit different. What is physical therapy? Physical therapy is the treatment of a disease, injury, or deformity by physical methods such as massages, heat treatments, and exercises rather than using drugs and surgery. The goals are to help your joints move better, to restore or increase your flexibility, strength, endurance, coordination, and or balance. So physical therapists, they focus on the injury. They want to get you to be physically as fit and as good you can be. You could go to a physical therapist even if you're not injured, even if you're just like in your old age and a certain body part isn't moving as you want it to be, and they would give you exercises or some kind of treatment to, for you to be more comfortable and be able to move as freely and as you could and use your potential. I'm just going to show a little video to show a basic, like, how it is in the day of a physical therapist, what they usually do. There's a lot of different kind of physical therapists, like you can work with a lot of different ages. So the video I'm going to show is this physical therapist is working with kids. So, just wanted to put that up.
You may have to volume knobs behind you. Behind you.
Behind you, there's a white knob,
Oh,
but it
No,
too is
not-
tricky.
But the one below you.
oh, this one.
Physical therapist with the County of San Diego Health and Human Services. 6? You missed 7. Pretty busy here. I come in 7 o'clock in the morning and have my first kiddo up and waiting for me.
Ready, set, go!
California Children's Services is a program that works with kids birth to 21 years of age with permanent physical disabilities. Most of those are probably cerebral palsy, spina bifida, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Pretty much just spend most of my day working with kids, teaching them to be more independent in their daily lives and be able to do more functional skills. A lot of walking, standing, sitting, getting in and out of different positions, and just being able to do what's most important to them.
So that gives you a little idea of what a physical therapist would be doing, Back to the presentation. Now, occupational therapy. Sorry. What is occupational therapy? Occupational therapy is a form of therapy for those recovering from a physical or mental illness that encourages rehabilitation through the performance of activities required in daily life. So, occupational therapists, they do give you exercises and activities to better yourself, but they do not focus on an injury. They focus on social skills. So, an example would be a physical therapist would help you to get your leg functional, where if you want to dance, an occupational therapy would make sure that you can dance. It would teach you how, if you're disabled, you can dance to your best ability, even if your legs aren't working. So they focus more on skills than just an injury. If you go to an occupational therapist's office, you'll see there's a setting for like a kitchen or a bathroom, and they'll help you how you can use these settings. And even if you're disabled or you're old and you cannot use them as someone normally would, they would help you to work your way around it, and you'll be able to do it as a normal person would be able to. Common occupational therapy interventions include helping children with disabilities to participate fully in school and social situations, helping people recover from injury to regain skills, and providing support for older adults experiencing physical and cognitive changes. Another video I wanted to show just today in an occupational therapist.
Self-sufficient in everyday life leads to self-confidence and self-esteem. Occupational therapists provide a pathway to self-sufficiency by teaching mentally or physically challenged people new skills, or how to modify old ones to compensate for lost abilities. The job of an OT involves teaching and motivating patients to develop, recover, or maintain daily living and work skills. It is a career that requires strong analytical skills and creativity in developing innovative and effective treatments for a variety of challenges.
So, yep, that's occupational therapy. Very similar to physical therapy, but their whole mindset is different. They want you to be able to function properly in your everyday life. Here are just differences, what they do. Physical therapy would rehabilitate a patient, prevent injuries, and assist patient in resuming everyday activities, while an occupational therapy would treat you and improve your basic motor functions and help you have a productive life in all. Now, some advantages of working as a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. Both of them are very similar, so the advantages are also very similar. It is a very satisfying career since you see that you're making a difference. You get to see these patients every single day for a certain period of time, 6 months, a year, whatever. So you actually see them change. Let's say you get a patient who is in a wheelchair, and then after 6 months, after you evaluate them and you're like, okay, after 6 months, we're going to make sure that you can walk or you can be able to do this certain skill. You can see them do it, and that is very rewarding to be able to see that you're making a change. You enjoy this job security. Physical therapists and occupational therapists are these jobs. They're found in everywhere in the country or in the world because there's old people everywhere, there's injured people everywhere, and if you go to a hospital and after a certain while they do recommend you to go to a physical therapist or an occupational therapist if you were in a stroke or some kind of accident and you're not able to move properly or you're in a wheelchair, you do require physical therapy to be able to function properly again. So physical therapists, the job security is very good because they're always going to be physical therapists. And also, since in today's world, the old age people, there's a lot of older people now since people are not dying as much.
Yes.
The age has increased, so there's going to be a need for more physical therapists also. You can choose your own location since you can find this job basically anywhere. I've been looking at schools. There's at least 3 or 4 programs in every single state in this country, so I have the leisure to be able to go anywhere I want to go. I'm not restricted to a certain state. So you can choose where you want to work. You can find jobs anywhere. You're making a difference. Again, it's a satisfying career. You see yourself making a change, which is very rewarding. The salary, of course, you're never going to break 6 figures. You might, the higher 10% people do make a little more than 100K, but it's not a career where you're going to be a billionaire or a millionaire. But the salary is good. Like the good median salary is like $75,000, which I think is very comfortable, especially if you get married or you're living with a partner. 2 salaries together, you could make 100K together. But 75K is not bad. I don't think it's bad. There's a wide variety of client types. You can work with any kind of people you want. You can work with old people, you can work with injured people, you can work with athletes, you can work with children, you can work in high-risk hospital setting, you can work in an inpatient, outpatient. You have a lot of options. You can choose from whatever you want to work. So that's a good thing. That's some disadvantages, of course. Education costs time. You have to go to college, so that's not very cheap. And then after that, you have to get a doctorate or at least a master's to be able to work as a physical therapist or occupational therapist. A lot of people, I don't know, maybe after 20 years, 30 years, they get bored. They do not want to do this again anymore. There's not as much room for change. You have to go back to school and start the whole process again if you want to change what you're doing. Healthcare reforms. As you know, the health insurance policies keep changing. There's a lot of insurances who do not cover physical therapists, so that might affect physical therapists' pay and salary. And I guess some people would not even want to go to them because they would have to pay them out of their pockets. Physical fitness. It's not a requirement, but it's very much recommended to be physically fit to be a physical therapist because you're on your feet a lot. You're walking around with people, and you have to be able to carry people sometimes because you're transferring them from a wheelchair to a bed or to different equipment. So it's to your benefit if you're physically fit. So it could be an advantage or a disadvantage, however you look at it. Again, it's physically demanding because you have to carry certain type of loads physically and emotionally. You do tend to get attached to your patients since you're working with them, you see them every single day, you become friends with them most of the time, and sometimes people take it personally when they cannot help someone in particular, or something happens to someone's old, and it is emotionally draining sometimes if you don't see your patient, improving as much as you want them to, so sometimes it could be emotionally draining. License renewal. Some states do require to renew your license after every 2 years, so that might be a disadvantage for people since they just went to school and they're like, after every 2 years you have to take a test and again renew your license to be able to practice in a certain state, so that's I guess not a very good thing. Of course, we all want to make good money, so this is just a chart showing the median salary of a physical therapist and anything based on any kind of therapy that makes good money. You can see the first one, physical therapy, the median salary is $76,000, and the upper 10% make $100K. And then occupational therapist, you can see number 4, $72,000. So they're very, very close. It also depends what setting you work in. If you work in a high-risk setting, you would make way more money. If you work in the hospital with high-risk patients, you make more money. If you work in, outpatient where people come in and go back home, you don't make as much money. But it all depends. You can choose where you want to work. So, working in a high-risk setting, you do make more money, but it's very stressful. Some people might not be meant for it. So it depends. You do have options. So I think that's a very good thing. So to get into the programs, there are certain requirements. You have to have 2 semesters of chemistry, biology, and physics. You have to have anatomy and physiology. You also have to have psychology. Since you're working with people, they want you to know how people work and think, and you have to have statistics. And you have to take your GREs, and now the GREs are scored from 130 to 170, and the average score that they look for is 147 in verbal reasoning, 147 in quantitative reasoning, which is the math part, and out of a 6, they want a 3.5 in analytical writing. The GPA requirement is a 3.0, but since the DPT programs and the OT programs are very, very competitive, because a lot of people apply. There's only 60 seats in NGMS, which is UMD&J, and I think more than 500 people apply. So there's a lot of applicants and there's not a lot of seats. So the programs are very competitive, even though the requirements are not as high, like the GPA requirement is 3.0. People who do get in, they do have GPAs above 3.5 or 3.8. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get it if you have these basic requirements. Recommendations, you are required to have 2 recommendation letters from a physical therapist and 1 recommendation from a professor. So you kind of have to build relationships with physical therapists. You have to shadow them, you have to work with them prior to going to school as a physical therapist. Observation hours, some schools require 100 to 200 hours, some don't require at all. Some do require 50 hours, but again, they do require recommendations, so you can't really get recommendations without working with a physical therapist. Again, number of applicants, very competitive. There's a lot of number of applicants, not a lot of people getting in, so it's a very competitive field. And that's all I have for you.